This episode of Comics for Fun and Profit is brought to you by Threadless. More importantly, the Comics Fun Profit shop on Threadless at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com, where you can find, about half a dozen different designs, plenty of Comics for Fun and Profit themed merch. If you just want a t-shirt, you're good, and if you want sweatshirts or other swaggy items, and you can get anything. Phone cases, shower curtains. It runs the gamut. Skateboards, I think. So check that out. We've already sold several. We're excited about the fact that the folks that want to support us in this way are able to and wear our merch out in the real world. That's pretty exciting stuff. So get your Comics for Fun and Profit branded items at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing a friend of the show, James Aquilone. He is an editor, writer, a Bram Stoker Award nominee, and a two-time Rondo Hatton Classic Horror winner. He won for Best Graphic Novel for Koshak, the 50th Anniversary Graphic Novel, and for Best Classic Horror Fiction, Monsters Unleashed. James is here to promote his latest Kickstarter, Dead Detectives Society. This campaign starts on May 31st and ends on June 22nd. And also, too, please check out James's website, monstrousbook.com. This is where you can pick up the Koshak graphic novel, hardcover, trade. There's limited prints, t-shirts, and the one-shot comic. You also can pick up classic Monsters Unleashed and his Dead Jack series. Also, Shakespeare Unleashed is available for pre-order on his website. So if you guys get a chance, please check that out. James, welcome back to Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thanks for having me back.
No, thank you very much. And I want to congratulate you on winning two. Now, I'm going to try to, hopefully I pronounce it correctly. Rondo Awards, is that correct?
Yeah, Rondo Hatton.
Okay. And then for listeners, can you just briefly describe what the award is, and were you able to attend that event?
The Rondo Hatton Awards are like they given out for like classic horror. So I put out a book called Classic Monsters Unleashed. It was all about classic monsters. So it was perfectly suited for the Rondos. And Kolchak too, which deals with classic horror. But yeah, it's voted on by the fans, so I was really surprised that I won two awards, and we were up against some big name people. And we were actually up against Steve Niles for best graphic presentation, I think it's called. I think a lot of the people who were in the Kolchak book were also nominated. And Kim Newman was nominated for best classic horror fiction too. So I was really surprised that we won, and I was told that it was like one of the biggest turnouts too for the Ronald Hatton voting. So like I think like over 5,000 people voted.
Wow, that's really nice. And like I said, congratulations. And I'm just were you able to attend this event, or was it like a virtual event, or?
Well, they actually announced the winners before, and then they're gonna hand out the awards at WonderCon June 10th, I think.
Nice.
So which is nice. So you don't have to attend the award show if you don't win. So you know it beforehand. So now I don't know. I'm thinking about driving to Kentucky now.
That'd be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah. So that'd be cool.
Yes, that would be really nice. And listeners, the Koshak graphic novel, I mean, me and James go way back to like last year. I mean, we were already talking about this, our love for Koshak. I had to get the hardcover with James Orway's incredible. I had to, and when I got it, oh my God, it's a fantastic graphic novel. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because I want to start because we need to focus on the Dead Detectives Society Kickstarter, and we'll come back to the Koshak and the classic Monsters Unleashed book later in the interview. Now, before we begin this interview, I want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri at Superfan Promotions for setting up this interview. And Hannah, thank you very much for doing this. And thank you for giving me an early press release to describe what the this campaign is about. So Hannah, thank you very much. James, I'm going to ask, would you like to add anything to this?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, James, where can listeners follow you on social media? Yeah.
You can go to monstrousbooks.com, or you can follow me on Twitter on the James Aquilone.
All right. And then, all right, let's just jump right into Dead Detective Society. What is this new anthology about?
Well, we were talking about Kolchak, and I think this is very kind of connected because I have a character called Dead Jack, Zombie Detective. That was when I did my first Kickstarter in 2016 to kickstart the first novel. So so I had this character, it was a zombie detective, and I wrote the first story years ago, like in 2006. And I love detective fiction, and I just wanted to do something weird. So my idea was just, well, what's like the weirdest type of detective I can come up with? So I came up with zombies, and this is back to 2005, so it was like just right before like the kind of whole like zombie renaissance began, like The Walking Dead. I think that's around the time like the Dawn of the Dead remake came out, and 20 years later. So I thought I was really original with that. I thought, oh, no one has a zombie detective. So years later, I didn't do anything with the story for many years. I just filed it away. And then around 2011, I was finally getting serious about my writing career. So I thought maybe I will, submit it to see if I can get it published. But before I did that, I said, let me see if anyone else has like a zombie detective so I don't look like I'm ripping them off. So I Googled it, and funny enough, one of the first hits I got was Tim Wagner.
Yes.
He has a zombie detective series. It was called Necropolis. And that's what I had named my world, Necropolis.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's why it's a good reason for me to Google it. So I changed it to Pandemonium. I saw like similarities. I thought, oh man, there are other zombie detectives. And then I found Dan Shamble, which is Kevin J. Anderson's zombie detective. I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't as original as I thought. But then fast forward a few years, and then I'm working with Tim Wagner, who was in Classic Monsters Unleashed. He was in the Kolchak graphic novel. He's in Shakespeare Unleashed as well.
Yes.
And I've done some work with Kevin J. Anderson as well. So over the years, many people would always, compare my Dead Jack to Dan. They go, oh, is this, or accusing me of ripping off like Dan Shamble. So I said, no, it'd be a cool idea if I just do an anthology.
Yes.
Find all these zombie detectives. And then I like expanded the idea and said, like, why don't we just add more supernatural detective? And then I worked with Nancy Collins too, and she has Sonia Blue, who's a vampire slayer, but she also investigates crimes and stuff. So I said it'd be cool. Get all of these characters already been around for a while and combine them into one book, but also maybe the other half of the book could be I'd like to encourage more writers to create type of characters, these supernatural detectives. Because there are a few of these, like I said, the zombie detectives, but it's still a pretty small subgenre. So it'd be cool with these books to highlight these characters that are already out there, but also to kind of expand the genre and create more of these characters. So that was the basis of the idea behind Dead Detective Society.
And then you've already mentioned, you have Tim Wagner, Kevin J. Anderson, Nancy Collins. Who else is contributing to this book?
We got Steve Niles. Niles has the Cal McDonald and Moloch story. So that was perfect. So I was looking around for other writers that had these characters, and I worked with John Jennings. John Jennings did some work on Kolchak too. He did a short story in the prose section,
Mm-hmm.
and he did an illustration. And but I originally knew him. He has a zombie detective called oh, it's like Half Dead Frank or something, Blue Hand Mojo, and he did a couple of graphic novels.
Mm-hmm.
So that's perfect. But he said he couldn't use the character because it was like on the license for something else. And
Mm.
then he showed me this other character he has, and it's called Saul Wen, Halloween Detective.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the artwork he did with that, and it's really cool. And they told me the concept of it, and I was like, "This is amazing." And he hadn't done anything with it though. He hadn't done any stories. He just had some sketches. So I said, "All right,
Mm-hmm.
let's do that." I mean, so he's gonna do a story. It'll be the first Saul Wen Halloween Detective story will be in this book. And then I asked John to do the cover.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He did this amazing cover.
Mm-hmm.
It blew me away. So so it was just incredible how a lot of this kind of came together. So it was either I was either finding people who also had these type of characters, or finding like new characters. We had David Avalone
Yes.
uh, came on board, and he came up with this amazing idea for Nick Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Carter is one of the oldest detectives, fictional detectives. The first Nick Carter story came out like a year before Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Nick Carter, like they were like pulp detective stories,
Yes.
and it started like in 1886, and
Wow.
he's yeah
Mm-hmm.
he's been around a long time, and he told me his father Michael Avalone wrote these Nick Carter books in like the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It turned Nick Carter into like a James Bond
Mm-hmm.
type of character. So he came up with this idea where they would reanimate Nick Carter, kind
Yeah.
of like Captain America, like after like 20 years or so, he's reanimated, he's brought back to life in like the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
continue on his adventures. So, and that's a really amazing story too. So it really turned out really well.
That's pretty cool. That is so cool. Um, let's see. I wanna go over some of the other writers characters, and please feel free to add, and explain, to listeners, like, where did they first appear, whether in comics or books, but like also to, like, Tim Wagner's detective, Matt Richer is a zombie detective.
Hmm.
So correct, and then help me on this. With this character appeared in some of Tim's novels or comics, or
Um, I think there were three novels. I think it's called the Necropolis series.
hmm
Um, and I don't think he's done one of the books in a while. So he hasn't.
okay.
There has been like a Matt Richter um story for a while, and I think there are a few short stories,
Yes.
but I think he did that earlier on in his career.
Okay. All right.
So there are three Necropolis books out there somewhere,
Okay.
and we'll probably have through the Kickstarter some of these books, like the Necropolis books, and have them signed too from the authors.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's really nice.
Steve Niles sent me like a whole box of his books signed, like all like six or so Cal McDonald books. So that was cool.
Well, that's pretty nice. Another detective. Now I'm hopefully I got this correct. Is it Gingy Fox by
Yes,
Mason?
Mason. Yeah,
Yes. So has this character appeared in any other short stories or novels?
yeah. She was in she had done an anthology called Black Cranes,
That's right. Yes.
which is
Mhm.
all stories from Asian women, and so I don't think in the story she was necessarily like a detective or a private investigator,
Mhm.
but then she made her into this is also really I just read it the other night. So she's like a death investigator.
Oh.
Uh and it takes place in like 1906 San Francisco,
Oh,
so
nice.
right before the earthquake happened. So it's a really interesting story that involves Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
and like she's a fox spirit. So there's a lot of like Chinese mythology and stuff in that story. So that's really cool.
That sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna ask, is there any other writers? Because I know there was a list of writers that I saw. Is there any other writers and their characters you want to mention during this interview that appear in this book?
Let's see. We talked about most of them. Well, I'll have a Dead Jack story in there too.
Yes.
A new Dead Jack story. Um, Nancy Holder and Alan Phillipson, they have a new character, but I think he's appeared in a couple of short stories already called Johnny Fade,
Mm-hmm.
who's like a ghost detective.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. Um, Jeff Strand, who does a lot of humorous horror stories, did a really funny story on a new character. That's just kind of wild. I mean, I don't know how to describe that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Joe Lansdale and Casey Lansdale did a story. Yeah, some of it I don't want to give away too much,
Oh
but
no,
it's
yeah.
just about a young girl who dies and comes back and has to solve a friend's death and her own.
Okay. All right. No, but yeah. Okay. No, but that's
The other
good.
one is I think I mentioned everybody, but Jonathan Mayberry is doing a story,
Oh, that's
but
right.
so
Yeah.
far I don't have any information on that.
Okay. That's fine.
Most of all the stories are in except for like three of them, so which is cool because usually I've done it the other way around where I got the stories after the Kickstarter, or most of them.
Yes.
So most of the book is already finished.
Oh, okay. All right. And then when you contacted these writers and when they got back to you, were some of these writers excited to bring back some of their characters? Like, I like did some of them go, I was always wanted to do a short story, or always wanted to know where they would be the last time I wrote them, which was maybe 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, because Kevin J. Anderson, I know he loves writing those Dan Shamble books
Uh-huh.
and so it wasn't that hard to get him. And he's a big name and he's got a lot going
Yes.
on. He's involved with the whole Dune series, and I think there's a new Dune TV series coming out based on one of his books,
Wow. Okay.
Dune Sisterhood or something
Okay.
like that. So I would normally figure like he'd be hard to get, but
Yes.
like Dan Shambles, Dan Shamble. I once accidentally said Dan Shambles and he corrected me. It's Dan Shamble. But he loves doing it. He's like, oh, you don't have to twist my my arm to do a Dan Shamble story. And what he usually does anyway, he does a short story every now and then collects them when he
Uh-huh.
has like 10 of them and he puts out an anthology. And weirdly enough, he's also doing a Kickstarter for the new Dan Shamble
Oh,
novel, and it's launching next week.
oh my
So
God. Mhm.
that was really cool. So he's promoting that. So he's got a new Dan Shamble novel coming out. I think it's like the ninth one,
Mhm.
and then you can get our book and get another Dan Shamble short story. So this is like I said to my publicist, this is going to be the summer of weird detectives, zombie detectives. So, which is I would love to see it happen. Become the zombie detectives become more popular.
Oh, yes, that'd be great. And for new listeners, Kevin J. Anderson, as James mentioned, that more recently he's been associated more with the writing more of the Dune books, but also too back in the 90s, Kevin J. Anderson wrote, a number of Star Wars books to go back and check. He wrote the trilogy, the Jedi Academy, and he also wrote three books for the X-Files series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember reading one of them. It was very good. It was really good. Yeah.
Well, there was actually a Dan Shamble Kolchak comic book
Oh, I didn't
that
know that.
Keystone did. Yeah, a couple of years ago. And
Ah.
I think he's gonna have that. It's gonna be available. It's hard to get, but I
Hmm.
think he'll have copies of it available through his Kickstarter.
Oh my God.
So that was cool.
Yes, it is, but it's like, oh no, 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 James, I'm gonna back yours. I've already backed one Kickstarter. I know they're gonna collect my money in June. I've already told you through my emails, I'm gonna back yours. Yeah, yeah.
I know. I said that's gonna be like overload.
Yes.
I think it'll be all right because then we get to cross promote with him, which would be cool. And I'm sure when people are fans of stuff like this, like they want everything, you know.
Yes. Hmm.
So and the books will always be available, even
Yeah.
Kickstarter. You don't have to
All right. Now, I know, now correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be some interior artwork um in your Kickstarter. May I ask, can you let our listeners know who are the artists going to be doing some of the illustrations in the book?
Well, Zach Atkinson, who did the coloring for Kolchak,
Mm-hmm.
is most of the interior illustrations. He's already done one for Kevin J. Anderson story, and he just did the Sonia Blue Nancy Collins story, which I haven't shown. But we did show the Dan Shamble one already, and he did one for what else did he do? He did another. Oh, he did the Nick Carter one,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really awesome. And J.K. Woodward, who also did a couple of stories in the Kolchak graphic novel, he did the illustration from my story for the Dead Jack story,
Nice.
and it's amazing. So we might bring in another artist or two
Mm-hmm.
because it's 13 stories, so each story will have a full page illustration,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have it'll be kind of like like in a pulp. It'll be like a kind of like a pulp magazine. So we'll have like the full page illustration with the title of the story and the blurb and the author's name, and then it'd be like kind of like a cover for each story. So
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely wanted to have like that in there. I love that when you have like like I love like the design of those old pulp magazines. So
Mm-hmm.
that integrated the artwork with the text. So so far all the artwork has been amazing. So we'll probably start start showing that during the Kickstarter, and we'll probably continue having like new ones come out every week or so.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be pretty cool. All right. Um, I'm going to start talking. I'm going to ask you the question: what are the pledge tiers? Or
Um
like.
I'm still working on it. I
Okay,
don't
no, no, no.
but it's basically I like to keep them simple now. Obviously you get the book and the ebook, but everyone who's going to get a print book
Hmm.
will also get a Dead Detective Society membership card.
Oh,
That'll be
nice.
signed and numbered, so you get to be like a junior detective in the Dead Detective Society. So I'll sign them, and each person will get like their own number. So I thought that would be cool to do. Um, and we'll have I'm gonna probably get the cover, and then the cover has 5 of the characters on it.
Yes.
So I'm gonna send that around to all of the authors and have them sign, next to their character. So we'll have like that'll probably be limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably a print. I'm trying to decide on what size is
Mm-hmm.
best. So we'll have the 5 writers that are on the cover
Mm-hmm.
signing their characters. We'll have something like that. And like I said, well, I'm trying to get where each author will have their own tier where they'll have signed books.
Oh, yes.
I already have a bunch of Steve Niles, Cal McDonald books. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so a few of the authors I also have already said they'll send me books too. So
Mm-hmm.
especially with the ones where the characters already been published. So we'll try to make those books available too.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be we'll have a t-shirt. Well,
Yes.
no one can see that, but I'm wearing the t-shirt.
Yes, I sorry, I know this is audio, but yes, that I was gonna point that out. It's like you already have a t-shirt already
I
made.
already got the t-shirt. I
Nice.
love the t-shirt. So so yeah, we'll have the t-shirt and I don't know. I'll try to figure out anything else, but I like to keep it simple because I think when you have too many rewards, people get confused.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I look at Kickstarters and they have so much stuff, and you just keep scrolling down the page.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You go, oh, and we have this, and wait, there's more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as long as it's the book and a couple of signed things and a cool T-shirt and poster, I think we're good. and I'll have like all my Dead Jack books will be available, and you'll probably be able to also be able to pick up as add-ons the Kolchak books
Mm-hmm.
and all the other stuff, and like the Shakespeare Unleashed stuff if you missed those Kickstarters.
Okay, that's pretty. Um, I know if you can't talk about it, that's fine. I know you already mentioned that you want to try to keep the Kickstarter, simple. I'm just asking, you know, are you toying around with the idea, or do you have something in mind where you're gonna have some bonus content that would be unlocked if the original pledge goal is met or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, so the idea is to do a magazine. Like I
Uh,
said, so since it's like a pulp inspired book, I want to do a magazine called Monstrous Magazine after my publishing company. Um, so it would be like a 40-page digest size magazine, and in there I just want to have like a blend of comics
yes.
and short stories. I mean, I'm still working on that, so well, so I'm hoping that we'll get like some reprints
Hmm.
of like old pulp stuff. Um, I'm hoping to get at least one comic
Hmm.
in there, and then maybe some articles like essays about um pulp and like the history of that. So that right now is kind of in flux. So I'm trying to get that together.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
but that would be really cool to do. And the idea would be that the magazine would continue.
Nice.
So with each of my Kickstarters, we'll do a new issue of that magazine, and
Yes.
that magazine would coincide with the Kickstarter.
Oh, that's good.
I
That's
think
really
that-
nice.
Yeah, so hopefully I can get that together, and it's just a matter of just trying to figure out what the content's going to be.
Hmm. Oh, okay. No, thank you for letting me know about this. Thank you very much. Um, do you want to give shout outs to people who helped you on this book, like other behind the scenes, Um,
I think I mentioned everybody.
okay.
Uh, yeah, I think other than Hannah and David, you
Hmm.
know, helping with promotion who are amazing, as you know.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think that's pretty. I think yeah, that's there's probably somebody I am forgetting, and then
Oh,
I'll remember later on.
no,
But
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, like I said, Zach Atkinson's been amazing with all the artwork that he's done so
Mhm.
far. Um, John Jennings cover is like that's probably the best cover I think I've had.
Mhm.
It's really amazing.
Yes.
So I mean, it's possible we can bring in some other people, but I don't know
Mhm.
yet,
Okay.
or because we're still, I do have most of the stories in, but I still have a lot of artwork that we need. So,
Yes.
so we might bring some new people in, but
Okay.
so far I think yeah, that this is the team so far.
Okay. But it sounds pretty cool because you already, like you said, you already got the most of the stories in. You already have, you already have your foundation set already.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
because well, this is my fourth Kickstarter, um, or fifth. I don't even remember. So I'm hoping I'm getting better at it, and it's hard to put the Kickstarter together and put the book together at the same time.
Mhm.
Normally, what we do, so you run the campaign, and while you're running the campaign, your stories are coming in, and you're trying to also assemble the book,
Mhm.
and it becomes really chaotic. So I wanted to try to not do that, and
Mhm.
as much as the book done first
Mhm.
and do the Kickstarter because when I do the Kickstarter, my philosophy is always that the book's going to come out no matter what, and we're
Mhm.
just doing a Kickstarter really to kind of promote it and to expand on it.
Mhm.
But it's not like I don't want it to be like, well, if we don't hit our funding goal, the book just disappears and then we forget that idea and then we try to do something else.
Yeah.
So I'm committed to the book or the project. Like it's going to happen. Um, but the Kickstarters do help a lot in expanding them, especially with Kolchak. Kolchak was supposed to be a much smaller book.
Mhm.
And, we weren't going to do all those other additions, but
Yes.
because the Kickstarter was so successful, we were able to add more stories and more add more artists and more artwork and other additions and add-on and stuff. So I don't like the idea of just being so reliant on Kickstarter that if the Kickstarter doesn't work, then you throw the whole project out the window, and you
Hmm.
still you have to invest money in the Kickstarters beforehand.
Hmm.
So it wouldn't make sense if you weren't committed, and then if that Kickstarter fails, you lose all the money, and
Yeah.
and often you do have the stories already written too. So I don't
Hmm.
know what you would do with them. So you kind of have to be committed to it.
Hmm. And I'm going to say a very good point with the Kolchak Kickstarter because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because when you guys hit your goal, I remember seeing um, an email from the Kolchak Kickstarter saying, "Hey, we added Gabriel Hardman to, he now we can include his story," and which was a very good twist on the Bigfoot
Yeah,
myth. I loved it. That was a nice twist.
yeah, that was a really cool story.
All right. Um, my understanding that, and like you spoke about, because this is a passion project of yours. Um, what was the most fun or exciting thing that you love working on this particular campaign?
Hmm. I mean, there've been so many cool things that kind of just popped up, and like the new characters, like John Jennings' Saul Wen character. I'm really like interested in seeing that story and how it develops.
Yes.
What I didn't mention is that this is going to be a series, so this is going to be the first book. So the idea is that to do a book every year, so we can continue stories from these characters,
Yes.
and bring in, every time we do a book, we'll bring in new characters, and then we'll also have the old characters, new stories there. So I like to see it continue.
Mm-hmm.
So something like Saul Wen, which I think is going to be really awesome character. It'd be really interesting to see it develop, and hopefully, there are 10 books in the series, and then we have, be really cool for that character. And David Avallone's Nick Carter story is amazing. It's like this really cool, like action packed, very pulpy, like
Mm-hmm.
very much like from like that era. So I definitely see that continuing, and he
Mm-hmm.
said he's interested in doing more stories. So I think it'd be really cool, especially for the new characters, to see them kind of like be created and kind of grow and become a franchise of their own.
Yes.
And if this is successful, I would love to do that Detective Society comic, or even a series, because I think it works really well as a comic. So that's really exciting to see the new characters come out and be developed, and I'd love to see where they go.
Oh, okay. That sounds pretty cool. What y the thing I love about this campaign is that it gives me a readers a taste of the character, the certain characters like, Nancy Collins, Sonia Blue, your Dead Jack character. This anthology is going to give me a little taste of these characters, and also to other readers too, and also to, and like you said, like Steve Niles is, there's going to be a tier where, not only to um, get the Dead Detective Society, but if people want to check out his older series, they have an opportunity to do it in this Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
Or if I'm just you know, forgive me for saying this, but or if not, they're going, I can get the Dead Society's Kickstarter book. But I know Steve Niles have wrote this character. Maybe I can either go through Amazon, go through ebooks, or go to my used bookstore to see if they have back a used copy for me to check out. I think that's
Yeah,
just
like I said, it's really cool to see like the new characters and how they grow, but then the older characters, I'd like to see them get promoted, and then people go back and say, okay, let me read these Dan Shamble books and the Cal McDonald stories, and Sonia Blue. Sonia Blue was also in I think several comics,
yes.
um and then their novels and short stories. So yeah, Nancy's had her in like every medium so far. So yeah, a lot of them have been in comics. Dan Shamble, like I said, it was in the Kolchak comic, and
Hmm.
the Count McDonald is in prose and in comics, and
Hmm.
Sonia Blue. So, um, yeah, well, like I said, it would be cool to do a comic too, but but yeah, I mean, I would like to see people then go back and check out the other books. So hope, like I said, it's something that kind of promotes this whole genre and promotes everybody's characters.
All right. James, I'm going to start moving on because I want to start promoting your other works that are available on your website. As we mentioned before, the Kolchak graphic novel. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, for listeners, Kolchak the Night Stalker was created by Jeff Rice. Kolchak was originally introduced in an unpublished novel called The Kolchak Papers. Kolchak was played magnificently by Darren McGavin. It, and Kolchak first appeared in the TV movie called The Night Stalker, then The Night Strangler, and finally became a TV series that lasted one season. This show became a cult classic and has a huge influence on the X-Files. As I've already talked to James already, I have this graphic novel and I love it. The thing I love about the graphic novel is that it covers Kolchak's life from his days as a high school reporter. You see the origins of him wearing that light blue suit and also that straw hat, and it covers his whole lifespan to his last story in the 2000s. Now, James, I'm going to ask, do you want to add anything to this? To anything that I mentioned about this, or?
Well, Kolchak is we won the Rondo Hatton, but we're also up for the Bram Stoker next month. Well, I don't know when it's gonna air, but during StokerCon, that's when they give out the awards for the Stokers. And that's June 15th or something.
Uh-huh.
So we're nominated for best graphic novel there. So that would be really cool to win. As of now, the Ringos just ended their voting, I think, last night. So it'd be cool to get more awards. But to go back to Dead Detective Society, a lot of it was kind of inspired by Kolchak because I had so much fun doing the Kolchak book that I wanted to do something more like that. And a lot of the characters, especially like my Dead Jack and Dan Shamble, are very much in like the spirit of Kolchak. It's kind of that fun horror, and it deals with like mysteries and these cases like the ones that Kolchak would stumble upon. So it's like that. And that's how I describe it to a lot of the writers. I said, write the stories like kind of in that fun kind of Kolchak style. So if you like Kolchak, I think you're definitely gonna like this. I mean, maybe one day we can get Kolchak in there, and that'd be cool.
That's so cool. All right. Monsters Unleash. You've already briefly described it. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's an anthology, and it's it's original stories, right? Like that covers like Frankenstein, the headless. I was surprised the headless horseman,
Yes.
Dracula, and then do you want to add anything to that? Like what else? What other short stories it covers, and who wrote some of these stories?
Well, that was all new stories based on the classic monsters of Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. Um, so there's 29 stories in that book. It's a 450-page book. So it's huge. So we have several Dracula stories. We have one by Dacre Stoker, who's the great grandnephew of Bram Stoker. He wrote a Dracula story, and he's written along with Leverett Butts and other people. He's continued with like the Dracula stories. Now I'm gonna forget. Now that's going back like 2 years.
Yeah.
Jonathan Mayberry did a really cool Dr. Moreau story. It was like a
Oh.
sequel to Dr. Moreau. But I think we got pretty much every major classic monster in there. We have stories based on the Invisible Man, the Fly.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't public domain, so we don't mention any names or anything. So they're more inspired by or based on. There's a story based on the Blob too. So that's a really fun anthology.
God,
Oh,
wow.
we have a Wild West Dracula story, which
Mm-hmm.
Dracula is in the Wild West in like the 19th century, and he comes across I think Sitting Bull and Wild Bill, and that's written by Al Going Back, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a really cool story, and we have some really cool art in that book too.
Wow, man, I have to check that. When you mentioned the Blob, there's a Blob short story in there. I'm kind of
Yeah,
like,
that's a fun story.
oh,
That's from Linda Addison.
oh, I gotta check that out now. All right, let's move on because if not, man, I'm gonna be buying all your books already. um, Shakespeare Unleashed. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know this anthology is based on works. How do I? It's short stories. That's there. It's kind of like adapt. It's like some were adapted to like modern. Like for or help me with this.
Yeah, we did it many different types of ways. So it's the horror stories that are based on Shakespeare's works.
Yes,
Some
thank you.
of them are sequels, some of them are prequels,
Hmm.
some of them are just inspired by or based on, so they're more like a modern retelling of, say, Romeo and Juliet, but as
Yes.
a horror story.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, what I like to do is like to do it every type of way you could reimagine it or mix it up.
Hmm.
So we did the same thing with like classic Monsters Unleashed. We could have just said let's just do all sequels to those stories
Hmm.
or something like that. But then I leave it up to the writers, and sometimes you get a story that's like, um, very much like, let's say, Hamlet, and then you have something that's like that's not so much like Hamlet, but you can see like it has like the plot points, and
Yes.
it's more in like the spirit of that. So that book came out really well. I mean, I was a little worried because I thought maybe it'd be a little kind of like too out there.
Hmm.
Um, but it's very unusual and it's very
Hmm.
interesting. The stories are really, it's very consistently because a lot good. A lot of anthologies, it's like only a couple of stories are good, but here it's really like it was kind of like the Kolchak book. All stories are really good.
Yes.
Uh, but definitely it's very interesting how the different takes on it. So like I said, you could see all the different ways that the writers kind of played with Shakespeare. Um,
Yes.
and that's going to come out in July.
Okay. Well,
But
it's
if you
good.
back the Kickstarter, you already got the ebooks are already out for the
Hmm.
backers, and I'm just waiting for the hardcovers to come in.
Oh, okay. And then um I'm just gonna run through some names that have contributed to Shakespeare Unleashed. Um Ian Dosher, because he was
Yeah,
the author who also did the Star Wars Shakespeare thing.
he did Star Wars Shakespeare. He did Avengers Shakespeare. I have that book. It's a really cool book.
Mhm.
So he does all these different versions of Shakespeare. Like I think he did Back to the Future Shakespeare.
That's right. Yes.
I think there's a Clueless
Mhm.
Shakespeare too. He's done a ton of them, and they're really fun. So
Mhm.
he's really good at it. So I said I had to get this guy to do this,
Mhm.
and he did. So we did it's like a horror sequel to Twelfth Night.
Mhm.
But he does it, as a Shakespearean play. He does it
Yes.
as, in Shakespeare's language,
Mhm.
and it's formatted all like a play. So it's really cool. So
Mhm.
that's a really good. That was a hell of a thing to try to format that for the ebook. Like with all the formatting, but we got it working, and it looks really good in the print book too. And that's a really crazy story. And so yeah, like so Shakespeare, like I said, and we have sonnets in there too. So we have like horror sonnets
Yes.
in between the stories. So
Mhm.
it's a really fun book.
Uh, and listeners, I did, I remember now. This is when depends when you listen to this interview, um, because I interviewed James literally about a month ago to talk about to promote Kolchak and Shakespeare Unleashed. Um, James was nice enough to send me an advance review copy. I've read a couple stories, um, and again, it's not. it's the stories are retelling of some of Shakespeare's plays, but in a story format. It's not in the, I guess, the old English style verbiage or anything like that.
Right.
Some of them
Yeah.
are, but yeah.
Ian is, but it's still not as as difficult as like reading Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm,
Egan's is more like accessible.
mm-hmm.
Um, some people write in it's kind of in that vein, but none of it's like Shakespeare where you have to get you have to have a guide and every other line you're looking at it and go, what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely you understand it. It's not in that because I know a lot some people were kind of like, well, I'm not really into Shakespeare or the language, but yeah, this is their modern you know it's I don't think you have a difficult time reading any of the stories. But I mean, look, if you're a Shakespeare fan, you'll probably enjoy it in a different way because
Mm-hmm.
there are tons of like Easter eggs and references to Shakespeare.
And James, I've already mentioned this in a previous interview that one of the short stories that I love by J.G. Faraday.
Parody, I think.
Okay. Um, A Timeless Tragedy. I love that story because it's almost in the similar vein of Romeo and Juliet.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
gonna say
like
anything else.
story. Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. So, all right, James, I'm gonna start wrapping things up. Um, I know you already mentioned you're thinking about going to WonderCon to pick up your award.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, you know, do you think you might have a table there or anything at WonderCon? I'm just asking.
No, because I'm probably if I go, I'm just going to shoot over there and then go to the ceremony and probably try to get back because StokerCon is the next weekend.
Yes.
So I'm already like set to go there. So
Hmm.
it's gonna be a wild week if I do
Yeah.
end up driving to Kentucky and then I have to come back to New York and then the next weekend I'm driving to Pittsburgh for
Oh
Stoker.
God.
So that's gonna be crazy.
Okay. All right. Um, do you have I'm just asking, do you have any store signing or con appearance lined up for this year?
It'll probably be too late for this, but I'm at Cradle Con in Long Island, New York, May 20th and 21st.
Okay, I'll push that. I'll
And
promote that on
I
Twitter. Yeah.
might be at WonderCon,
Yeah.
StokerCon, and I might be going to some convention in Colorado in September.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Something like Horror Fest or something it's called. So,
Yeah.
but that's all I got lined up so far.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have any closing words to our listeners?
Uh, well, support Dead Detective Society. So I'm hoping to make that a series, and I would really love to make it a comic book. So that'd be cool, and it'd be really cool to see everybody you know, commenting on the Kickstarter, and I love interacting with the backers and stuff. So that's cool.
All right, James, thank you very much for your time. And mahalo for giving me another opportunity to interview. Thank you very much, James. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. It's always fun.
Ah, thank you. And then, James, I wish you all the success with the Dead Detective Society Kickstarter. So
Thank you.
you have already, we've exchanged emails, you know, you already got one backer, you know.
We need all the backers we can get. Yeah.
Okay. I also want to thank Hannah of Superfan Promotions for help setting this interview. Hannah, thank you very much, and thank you for the advance press release on this. Now, if you are a avid reader like me who loves to read everything from science fiction, horror, comics, to even nonfiction books, please check out Dead Society Kickstarter. This campaign starts on May 31st and ends on June 22nd. And I'm being serious. If you have a friend who loves, who loves the horror genre, and loves these pulpy detective stories, this would make a great gift to either your friend or a loved one. This would be a great gift for them. And as I already told James, I'm definitely backing this project. So Yes, so if you guys get a chance, please check out the campaign. I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Reason 365,422 to support us on Patreon. Our server, time to pay the bill, and it was a doozy. And in the normal circumstances, it would have caused quite an issue, but because of our patrons, we had money in our account, and we were able to quickly move that over, pay our dues, and get our account turned back on. We appreciate our patrons, so please head over to patreon.com/comicsfunprofit and support us at any level to keep the lights on. Literally, figuratively, keep the lights on. And we appreciate those of you who do. Thank you so much.